Welcome back, guys. And I'm Ashish, as you all know, and this is my channel, Medical Acme India. And today we are going to discuss Protista. So, guys, what happened in previous classes? We have discussed various types of organisms, classification, nomenclature, and many more things we have discussed in the previous class. How the organism newly invented can be classified into different taxonomical hierarchies and all. If you have not yet watched that video, please go in the list and watch that video if you want. So guys, let's start with the topic Protista. And Protista, as you all know, is a kingdom. So guys, it is a kingdom which was invented by Haeckel, Ernst Haeckel. It was invented by Ernst Haeckel, or term given by the Ernst Haeckel, as you can say. So guys, what happened? These organisms, as you have all studied about that, they are unicellular organism with eukaryotic nature. Eukaryotic means, as you all know, that these organisms are having a compartmentalization and nuclear envelope. Beyond this, we have one thing. Protista is itself a very diverse kind of organism. It is a micro, as you all know, and this group includes most of the microbial planktons. What are planktons? Planktons are free-living microorganisms, and they are eukaryotic in nature. So guys, they can be aquatic, they can be terrestrial, they can be anything. So the main important thing here is the cosmopolitan nature of the Protista. Protista itself is cosmopolitan. What do you mean by cosmopolitan? Cosmopolitan means in any geographical area or any, you can say, habitat, they are acquired by the Protista. So any habitat, in any habitat you can find the Protistans. So the cosmopolitan nature is very much seen in the Protista, and beyond this, the organisms show diverse nature in nutrition. In the previous class, you all have studied the nutrition and different types of nutrition found in the organisms, and Protistans are much more like, you can say, heterotrophic kind of nutrition, where they depend on the other organism for food, or other, like you can say, other organism for food. So these organisms, planktons and pathogens, they can be free living organisms in the aquatic system, or can be pathogen living in the host or infecting the organism, you can say. So diverse nature of nutrition, reproduction they are showing of different types. They can be asexually reproductive, or can be sexually reproductive. So the thing is, they are very diverse in nature, and this is due to their primitive nature, because they are the primitive organisms, so can show the diverse nature in the surrounding. And they also have the locomotory organ, but they are very, you can say, of primitive types, like pseudopodia, ciliata, like cilia and flagella. These all are primitive organs, or you can say foot pad like structure, but not the well developed. So here locomotion is also of various diverse types. So guys, these four are the feature of the general Protista, as you are seeing in the nature. So what happened by pathogen? So the important thing is, how are you going to define the term pathogen? Pathogen means, guys, I am slow today because some of the people are saying that, sir, you are very fast. So I am today very slowly teaching the things, and this will take a time, I know, but it's good, I think, to go slow. So guys, pathogen means pathologically active, or you can say causing disease in an organism or human. So guys, pathologically active organisms are also found in the Protista kingdom, and phytoplanktons, zooplanktons, all are found in the organism. That is the microbial plankton. Microbial plankton can be of two types, that is phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. Phytoplanktons are known to be the primitive, or you can say the ancestors of the, you can say, and not ancestors, but the precursor, or you can say the precursor of the plants, and zooplanktons are the animals. So guys, what happens? First see what are zoans. I am repetitively telling this name, zoans. Z-O-A-N-S. Zoans. So zoans are basically the organism which are having animal-like characteristic, or are animals, you can say. So the zoans are of two types, can be protozoans or can be metazoans. Now in layman language you can think that protozoans are the primitive animals that are having unicellular organization. So guys, all the organisms which are unicellular will be protozoans, and protozoans are basically, you can say, zooplanktons and pathogens. So these two organisms consist the protozoa. In metazoa, they are divided into three categories. First one is the parazoa, then the mesozoa and metazoa. These three are the classification of metazoa. This is the, you can say, not dynamic thing, but it is something like the, you can say, the very old fashion to classify the organisms, or you can say animals. So animals are zoans, as zoologinous or zoans. So guys, parazoa has only one, you can say, phylum, that is sponges. All the sponges are parazoa. Mesozoa consists of some of the parasitic organisms with specialized characters. Mesozoa means intermediary organism. Intermediary means they are not having their own, like you can say, existence. They are existing in another organism, or depending on another organism, or living in, like you can say, in some symbiotic nature. So guys, mesozoans are some of the, like you can say, trematodes. Trematodes, as you all know, is the fluke, worm-like organisms. So flukes are what they are doing. They are choosing an intermediary host and they are doing their survival there. So guys, mesozoa are parasitic trematodes, and metazoa, cnidarian, or you can say coelenterates. Cnidarians are coelenterates, as you all know. Cnidarians onward or to the mammal, up to the mammal, all the organisms are eumetazoa. Sorry, this is eumetazoa, true metazoa. So these metazoa are multicellular organisms, first of all, and they can be divided into parazoa, mesozoa, eumetazoa. Parazoa only sponges. Mesozoa में parasitic trematodes, flux-like structure, which are having the intermediary existence, and eumetazoa having the multicellular organism and very well defined system. System say, I mean, like you can say, all the system, nervous system and all that are. You all know that sponges have no nervous system. This is very important question asked in the examination. So no neurons or nerve-like cell are found in the sponges. So guys, after knowing all these concepts about pathogen and pathogens and zoans, then let's move toward the classification of Protista. So guys, Protista is a kingdom and it was defined by Haeckel. Very important note, and please remember this, the scientist's name. It is very important. So guys, let's talk about the classification of protozoa. I will very much simplifying the things because I know many people think that the taxonomy in itself is a very boring subject, as people have the misconception. But here I am having the best attempt and very simplified attempt to make you understand and make you learn. So guys, Protista can be divided into three, you can say, subkingdom. Three subkingdom. This is a kingdom. So it has three subkingdoms. And this is what is the basis of that classification into subkingdom? That is the mode of nutrition. Mode of nutrition. So guys, first one is the photosynthetic, or you can say phytoplanktons. phytoplanktons. So guys, phytoplanktons are, this is the subkingdom level. You all remember the taxonomical hierarchy. This is the rank and this rank is subkingdom. Photosynthetic protistans, which are phytoplanktons basically, and then the protozoa, which are zooplankton and some of the pathogens. And the third one is the molds, slime molds. Guys, please remember, slime molds are the connective link between fungi and plants. So slime molds are previously like classified in the fungi. They are known as the primitive fungi, but in the recent classification it is classified in the protistans sometime. So guys, slime molds are the primitive members of mycota. Mycota, as you all have learnt about that, mycota are the organisms which are fungi, but this is primitive member of, or you can say primitive mycota. So guys, let's move to the phylum level, because this is the protista and they are very microbial. You are not seeing the organism, so it's very difficult to remember the names and all. If suppose in case of birds, in case of animals or mammals, you are seeing the animal and you are just aware of the animal, that what are the features of the animal and what are the existence of the organism, as you all know. But they are microscopic. Most of you are not aware of the organism and not have seen. Just it is a hypothetical thing. So here we will move to the phylum level only and we'll stop there. So guys, this photosynthetic protista or phytoplanktons have 3 phylum. Remember here that phylums are very much in number, but the important phylums are highlighted in all the books. So the first one is the Chrysophyta. Chrysophyta are diatoms, and diatoms are organisms which are having diatom. What do you mean by diatom? Diatom means something, 2 things which are consisting the organism. So here the 2 things are theca. This theca. So guys, these theca are nothing but the silica structure, and the upper one is called the epitheca and the lower one is called the hypotheca. Epitheca and hypotheca. So the organism with this structure are seen in the diatoms, and it belongs to the Chrysophyta. The second phylum here is the Euglenophyta. Euglenophyta, it consists of organisms like Euglena. So Euglenophyta, and the third phylum, that is the Pyrophyta, these are the Euglena. Example Euglena, and here example Dinoflagellates. Again I am saying guys, don't confuse phylum with this organism. These are the organisms which are abundant in the phylum. So diatoms are kind of organism which are abundant in Chrysophyta. Euglena are the organisms which are abundant in Euglenophyta, and Dinoflagellates are organisms, a group of organisms you can say, abundant in Pyrophyta. So what is the difference between these? Sorry, what is the similarity between these? And what is the similarity between these? They all are having some similarities and dissimilarities. But the main important thing which is important for the examination point of view is the heterocont nature of the flagella. Heterocont nature of the flagella. Heterocont flagellum. Heterocont flagellum are 2 in number and they are unequal. So they are called the heterocont. Hetero means different kind of. So unequal sized flagellum found two flagellum first of all, and they are of unequal size length. So they are called the heterocont flagellum. And so sometimes they both are placed in the heteroconta Heteroconta superphylum. Heteroconta. Remember, Heteroconta superphylum consists of these two organisms, Ulinophyta and Pyrophyta. Let's talk about the protozoa. So it is very important for us. So we'll elaborate it in the next, you can say next classification, and next we'll study in detail. So guys, slime molds. Slime molds are primitive members of the fungi. First, what happened? They were placed in the fungi. But what happened what happened later? It was classified in the Protista because of similarity. And as you all know, slime molds are something which is related, which is the connecting link between the protozoan and plants. So it becomes very important to study. And Mycota, as you all know, Mycota means fungi, or the group of fungi. So these are primitive members of fungi, and the main phylum here is the Myxomycota and Dictyostelium. So these are the two phylum which are very important in the slime mold superkingdom. So guys, Myxomycota, here note that it is a plasmodial, or you can say colonial in nature. Here. So guys, this was all about the classification of Protista, but let's move toward the nature of the protozoans. Protozoans are very important because these all are like plants, and I am teaching you the animal diversity. So my concern is basically going to be here in the protozoa. Protozoa. Proto means primitive. Zoa means animals. So these are the most primitive members of the animals. Protozoans are basically pathogenic and some are free living. Free living and pathogens are the pathogens here parasitic basically. Parasitic. So parasitic organism and free living organisms both are found in the protozoans. The second important thing is it can be aquatic, it can be terrestrial, or it can be free living. So guys, all the diversity here that was in the Protista is here found in the protozoans. Please note guys, here in protozoa the mode of nutrition was holozoic. Here photosynthetic, here holozoic nature, and in slime molds the mode of nutrition was saprophytic basically. Mode of nutrition was holozoic. Holozoic means ingestive type, you can say, but primitive kind of ingestion where the engulfing occurs. The main thing about protozoan is the classification, from where the most of the questions are asked, and many important organisms like Plasmodium, Trypanosoma, Amoeba, these are the members of the protozoan subkingdom. So it becomes very important to study those organisms. Let's talk about the classification. Very simply, I will be classifying. So guys, protozoans can be classified into 4 main phylum. What is this? This is, you all know, here it is PHY phylum. Has 4 basic phylums. 4 important phylums are here. First one is the Sarcodyna. Second one is the Ciliata. Third one is the Mastigophora. And the fourth one is the Sporozoa. Sporozoa, as you all know, these are the organisms which are having like parasitic nature, and most of the pathogens are found here. So Sarcodyna, most of the organisms in Sarcodyna are free living or aquatic. So guys, aquatic organisms are basically found in the Sarcodyna. Ciliata, first of all understand how they are classified. These 4 are, I have written the names, and these 4 are classified on the basis of the locomotion. As you all know, protozoans have diverse kind of locomotion found in the organisms, and that vary basically between the organism. So on the basis of that locomotion, they are classified in the four things. First is Sarcodyna, where the locomotion occurs by pseudopodia. What is pseudopodia? Pseudopodia is the projection, or you can say the outbulging of the membrane to engulf organism to become motile. So ciliata are organisms having cilia, and mastigophora are basically flagellates, and it has the flagella as the locomotive organ. In Sporozoa, no well-developed locomotory organs are found. So guys, if no locomotory organs are found, then what they do? If you do not have legs, then what will you do? You will stay in the hostel or stay in the home, at the home. So guys, they do the same thing. They actually host the organism and start infecting them and start sucking organism. So guys, it was the level of phylum, but phylum is not sufficient here to know. Let's move to the, you can say, to the class level. So guys, Sarcodyna has two main subclass, and first one is the Rhizopoda and second one is the Actinopoda. These are actually the superclass. Super class 1 and superclass 2. So guys, these are superclass, and superclass has what? The classes. So here the main important class is Riboscia and Phyloscia. So these are guys very important class, so I am highlighting these. Otherwise there are many classes which fall in the super kingdom, superclass Rhizopoda and superclass Actinopoda. Liboscia consists our main organism which you are studying from your 4th, 5th class, that is amoeba and entamoeba. And Phyloscia basically have Euglypha. So guys, Euglypha are placed in the Phyloscia. Phyloscia means something like the flat organism. So Euglypha here is found. In Actinopoda, basically two classes are there, Acanthera and Heliozoa. Acanthera has the organism Acanthamitra, and Heliozoa has Actinofresh. Let's remember these 4 classes only that are very important. I'm not going beyond these 4 classes. If you are appearing in subjective exam, then these are the 4 classes which are very important. If you mention these 4 only, you will get the marks. So guys, Acanthera and Heliozoa are the 2 classes, but how they are different? As you have seen here that amoeba have the irregular structure and Euglypha have the flat structure. But Acanthera and Heliozoa, how they are different? सबसे पहले Actinopoda, poda means food and actino means projections. So guys, star-like projections when you found in the organism, unicellular organism, star projection, then they are called the Actinopoda. But when these, as you are seeing that the needles are very sharp and thin. But what happens if you are like kind of just like the happen in the cactus? You can see in the cactus, the needle-like projections are very sharp. So when they are sharp, they are actinofresh. Heliozoa, helio means sun. Sun, what sun do? They radiate. So the radiation-like thing, which are thinner like needle, are the actinofresh in the Heliozoa, and Acanthera has flat projections like in the starfish. So guys, these type of organisms which have the projections are placed in the actinopoda, and when the pods are thicker, it are the Acanthometra, and if the pods are thinner or sharp, it is actinofresh. Let's move to the Ciliata, Mastigophora, and Sporozoa one by one. So guys, in Ciliata, there are two organisms which becomes very important, and they are first the Paramecium, which again you are studying from your childhood, and second one is the Balantidium coli. Balantidium coli is very important, and it is very, you can say, very interesting questions are asked from the Balantidium, and it is very hot spot for the question setters. What they do, they will give you the list of the organisms, bacteria, where the bacteria are found, and will place the Balantidium, and will say which of the following is not found, which of the following is the protista, which is protozoa, which is found in the gut. So Balantidium hosts our gut, and it is the only protistan which is abundant in our gut, or protozoa you can say, which is found in the gut. Paramecium, as you all know, these are the organisms with the slipper-like structure. So please go through the Paramecium structure if you are appearing in the subjective exam, and it becomes very important to know the structure of the Paramecium. Basically the cilia and the ciliary body, how that basal bodies are organized, and all these things. You must know the structure of the cilia and flagella, that 9+2 arrangement द्वारा. So Mastigophora are the flagellates, and they are mainly two organisms which become very important in the Mastigophora, and they are Trypanosoma, which causes African sleeping sickness, and the second one is Trichomonas. So guys, these two organisms are very important. Trichomonas causes trichomoniasis, which is a sexually transmitted disease. Trypanosoma causes, I am writing here because it's very important, sleeping sickness, basically found in Africa. So Trypanosoma gambiense and many more species are here. They causes sleeping sickness. Gambiense spelling you can write from here. Gambiense. Trichomonas vaginalis causes sexually transmitted disease, vagina se vaginalis. You can understand this way. So guys, now come to the Sporozoa. Sporozoa are basically of organisms which are parasitic, and they are infecting organisms, or you can say pathogens. Most of the pathogens are found here and here, some here. So basically two superclass. These are the classes. These are the classes. These are the classes. Here again, there are basically two classes of the Sporozoa. First is the Coccidia. Coccidia. Here your most favorite organism of the protozoan, that is Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, is placed. So Plasmodium is placed in the protozoa में Sporozoa में Coccidia. So guys, the second one is the Periplacenta. These two are very important. You must know these two. I am very much simplifying the things because you cannot complain that later the animal diversity is very hectic and very difficult. So I am simplifying things. So guys, here Periplacenta में the main organism which are found is the Babesiones or Babesia. Babesia again is a parasite, and most of the parasites are found in the Sporozoa. If they ask the question, most of the parasites, where most of the parasites are found, then it will be the Sporozoa. With no locomotory organs, so they host the organism. So guys, this was the end of the lecture, and I hope you have enjoyed the classification system, and it was very simple and very much you can say interesting also, because many of the organisms are found which are of the human, not welfare, but the human detrimental conditions. So guys, Trichomonas causes trichomoniasis. You can note here, Trichomonas causes trichomoniasis. No point to note, but remember Trichomonas causes trichomoniasis. Plasmodium malaria, all know. So guys, please note these things. These are very important and must know the structure of the Trichonosoma, Plasmodium, Paramecium, basically in this section. Please remember these things. Basically, make a list from today that which of the organism is causing which of the disease.